Another look then at the detailed lineup. Switzerland starting from pole position. It was Neil Jani's birthday on Thursday. He turned 22 years of age. Nothing better than a birthday present to win his first race in A1 Grand Prix. But Lapierre is going to be tough to beat. He's yet to be beaten in A1 Grand Prix. Furman and Piquet next up. Watch out for Piquet. Brazil needs some results here this weekend. Great Britain's Robbie Kerr's been fast all weekend. He's also going to be tough to beat. Thomas Engel lining up 7th, Alex Young 8th, then McIntosh and Parent. We've got Italy and Indonesia, as we just saw. Behind them, South Africa and Japan. And then we've got Phil Giebler, the new driver for Team USA. He's got the Chinese driver alongside him. Then we've got some of the most disappointed runners like New Zealand. India not too bad, allowing for their lack of experience, but the Netherlands way down there, Australia near the back as well. So those particular teams have lots of work to do, and the boys from down under, whether it's Australia or New Zealand, were a little down in the mouth after qualifying yesterday, and they'll be looking to make some improvements as early as possible in the opening laps of the sprint race. So looking down on the grid, and we're getting close now to the moment that the grid will be cleared and we'll be setting the cars off on the formation lap.
Yes, and they'll pretty much go side by side all the way around this 3.35 mile lap, 5.39 kilometers, 16 corners, and some of them are banked, unusual corners on a racetrack these days to see bank corners, but that's one of the design aspects that has been incorporated in this Dubai Autodrome. But going side by side on that lap prior to coming up onto the start-finish straight to take the start of the race means some of the drivers are going to be driving offline for a very large part of the lap, and that's going to result in their tyres getting choked with sand, dust, whatever. So again, I emphasize, be careful.
Looking at the Lebanon car, just to remind you, if you missed the opening shots, Lebanon actually crashed their car coming out of the pits, coming around on their reconnaissance lap. So they're now having to take apart bits of the spare car and hope to hobble together a car that is going to be all right for the feature race. They're not going to make the sprint race. It's all a question of can they get the car out for the feature race. They were due to start in 23rd place for this sprint race, but now it's just a desperate panic, if you like, to try and get the car ready. But there's a top team of lads on this car, and I'm sure that they'll do their utmost to get Basil Shaban out for the feature race here this afternoon. But so disappointing. They've put all of the Arab nations' flags on that car this weekend. They're representing the Arab nations here, and it's all gone wrong before the sprint race even begins. Let's just continue our walk back down the grid. We talked a little bit about Phil Giebler. We spoke to him briefly. He's about to start his first ever A1 Grand Prix race, but alongside him the man who ended up on his head last time, John, the Chinese driver, Teng Yijiang.
Yes, he is, but he's on the left-hand side of the track. He's got the clear, clean line into turn one. He'll be cautious. He's not going to try and repeat what we saw in Australia, which was not necessarily all his fault. So as we look back now to Team India, and behind that Pakistan, they got together in Malaysia. Hopefully they'll avoid one another this time.
Well, we know that Lebanon's not going to make the start. Let's try and find out what's going on.
Basil, I wasn't expecting to talk to you at this point in the race. What happened out there?
Well, frankly, it was driver error. It was my mistake, a sign of inexperience on the outlap. I was pushing hard to try to discover what the car was going to be like, and on a bumpy section on the curbs, I just got oversteer and lost the back end, and the inside wall is very close there, and made some contact which made the car undrivable. And I'm very sorry, because this is our home Grand Prix, it's Dubai, and I want to apologize to all my fans and all our fans. Sorry, but we're going to try to get out there for the feature race, but thanks for your support.
Basil, hopefully we'll get your car running for the second race.
Yes, thank you very much.
Well, he's very professional and certainly talks about it well, but he must be absolutely dying inside at the moment.
Yes, but I admire his honesty in saying, look, there's not all my fault, hands up. Lots of other racing drivers would find a reason or an excuse for that particular moment, a very embarrassing one for Basil and for Team Lebanon. Nevertheless, the team will work flat out to get his race car rebuilt and ready for the feature race, the 30-lap feature race here in Dubai.
So we're all ready for the cars to set off on the formation lap here in Dubai. And as the pace car leads them away, they'll be laying down some rubber, particularly on this inside track. Now let's hope they all get away cleanly. Last few just moving away as they get clear space ahead of them, laying down that rubber and heading down towards that slightly blind approach to turn one.
And immediately they're all going into single file to avoid the right-hand side of the track coming into turn one. But they will have to face that once the cars come up to the grid and then this rolling start gets underway, and expect to see plumes of dust, sand and whatever. That will be a problem for many of the drivers. They may lose a certain amount of visibility. There'll be uncertainty as to what to do, whether to keep the throttle open or back out of it early. somebody behind you might make a different decision. So this is a moment of great caution for everybody. The benefit, of course, is those in the front row of the grid: France, Switzerland, Ireland and Brazil in the second row. They're going to have a relatively clear run in to that first turn, but all behind, well, it's going to be fun and games.
Switzerland lead the way. We're on board here with Nicolas Lapierre of France. There's Alexander Premat, who won both races last time out in Malaysia. And remember, France are on a roll. They've won 8 races out of the 10 held so far. The first 2 went to Brazil, but ever since then, it's been France taking victory. Neil Yarni of Switzerland is on pole position. He had a tremendous battle with France in the last round in Malaysia, particularly in the sprint race. He led until the last lap, but Alexander Premat gained victory in the very closing stages. Yarni is out for revenge this time. He wants his first win so much, and what an occasion it could be if he could do it before the Christmas and New Year break. Brazil and Great Britain very close. As I mentioned, John, Robbie Kerr of Great Britain, he might have qualified 5th, but he was only 1/10 of a second slower than the second place man, France, on the grid.
Yes, it'll all be about the start. Kerr will be on the inside of the track, so he's slightly disadvantaged compared to Adrian Sutil in 6th place, who was on the left-hand side. One of the things that came out of the Malaysia race when we saw that first victory for Premat was that team boss Jean-Paul Drio was very unhappy because he felt that his driver had put the team into an unnecessarily risky position. Now I wonder, will Nicolas Lapierre, who is on second on the grid, will he take this aggressive stance that we saw from Alexander Premat, or will he say, well look, if I can't get into turn 1 cleanly in the lead, I'm prepared to take second place to put myself into a stronger position come the feature race, and we know how good France have been at their tyre changes, and that's won them a number of the races.
Nerve-wracking moments though in the pit lane as we prepare for the start of the sprint race, and we've got a rolling start for this one, so we've still got a couple of corners or 3 corners to come around before they get onto the main straight and need to be side by side. Even then, getting side by side means some of the cars will be getting onto the more sandy side of the circuit, picking up a bit of mess on their tyres, and they'll be very wary about that. Team Ireland keeping a close eye on proceedings. Ralph Furman started 3rd in the sprint race in Malaysia, but he ended up finishing in 7th. They do not want a repeat of that. They desperately want some good results here today, but there's the man. Quick shot of Neil Yarni, looking confident, composed in qualifying. Can he hold on to this top spot in the race?
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult. He will be, by nature, I think, the more cautious of the two. And of course, Nicolas Lapierre will be on the clean line. He's on the racing line right now, and you can see that Neil Yarni, he wants to get onto it. He's just about come onto it, and the 2 cars, France and Switzerland, almost squeezing each other to stay on the clean part of racetrack as they come on to the start, finish straight.
The sprint race in Dubai is about to get underway with the rolling start. Switzerland and France lead them away. It's a good start from Switzerland, and Ireland's going with them as well. France is under attack here. It's down to 3rd, and it's Switzerland versus Team Ireland for the lead. Into the first corner, Great Britain having a look down the inside as well. France slotting into 3rd. Ireland trying to claim 2nd. Side by side, there's contact further back as well.
Germany and Malaysia contact in the middle of turn 1. Cars off track in turn 2.
France
There's the
off.
dust.
France went off, but they're back onto the track once again. They got side by side. It's Switzerland that leads, Ireland in 2nd place, Brazil in 3rd, 4th place for Great Britain, and France is down to 5th. They're really going to have to work this time to take yet another victory, and France made a mistake there. Lapierre went wide in the background.
And Italy coming
up. Italy, who started 11th and now attacking France for position.
Well, that's all to do with start grid position. Great start from Enrico Tocchicella to get up right behind France, but look at this, Team GBR pushing Team Brazil all the way down. Now to make the pass, you're going to have to pull out to the right and dive down the inside. Again, the dirty part of track. Defence from Brazil. Kerr has to go left, but he's on the clean. Look at the dust in the field coming behind.
Yeah, that's what you've got to watch out for. And look at Robbie Kerr of Great Britain putting Nelson Piquet of Brazil under pressure here. This is a good hard race already on the opening lap as Switzerland trying to streak away. Kerr's got the chance. He's trying to go around the outside of Brazil. Great Britain and Brazil side by side. He might have got this pass finished. He's on the curb on the exit of the corner. Next into a flat out left-hander. He should have the inside line.
Well, he's side by side coming into turn 13. Not much room into turn 14, but now Team GBR have the advantage. This is a bank corner to Brazil. Can go around the outside, but Team GBR did it. Great racing from Robbie Kerr.
They're up to third place. Great Britain into third. Look at France in the background getting sideways there. Nicolas Lapierre desperate to try and reclaim the lost ground. He's pulled away from Italy now. Czech Republic, Canada and Indonesia in there. Portugal, Malaysia and the Netherlands. Jos Verstappen's had an outstanding first lap as well. On board here with Team France. They're running fifth now. Chasing after Brazil. There is the race leader, Switzerland. Ireland in second. Great Britain in third. Brazil fourth. And Malaysia under attack from the Netherlands.
Netherlands, yes, great start, but Malaysia just does not give ground, but can take the switch back. We've got Team USA trying to get involved. This is a battle that's going on for 11th and 12th, 13th place.
Yeah, Alex Young from Malaysia in 11th place at the moment. The Netherlands in 12th, then USA, followed by Japan in 14th, New Zealand 15th. South Africa dropped a few places, and off. And
Brazil!
Off. Yeah, Brazil's gone wide. Brazil's gone off. That's allowed France into 4th place. Looks like there might be a problem for Brazil. It doesn't look as though it was a mistake, perhaps, or is it a mechanical issue? He's certainly coasting to a stop.
Germany in, getting that nose change. There was contact in turn one with Malaysia. So Adrian Sutil, who started in the third row of the grid, suddenly finds himself in the pit lane. All that good work in practice and qualifying, well, it's for nothing.
Team Germany go to work. Look at the side-by-side action on the dust here. And look, they're going to take out the marker ball. South Africa and New Zealand.
I mean, 4 cars trying to get in. We've got Australia, Pakistan getting involved in the mix, South Africa, New Zealand. I mean, I've never seen, it was like desert racing here in Dubai.
15th position they're racing this hard for, let alone for the lead. New Zealand just ahead of Australia. The two nations, great rivals that they are. They've been battling each other at the cricket. Now they're at it in the motor racing.
And Mexico, who were much quicker than their grid position, they're getting involved in the mix as well. But I've never seen 2 cars literally off track as much as New Zealand and South Africa were.
I didn't know there was that much track. Look at Pakistan. Ooh, they had a little look down the inside there. And Mexico's in there behind them as well.
Mexico slides past, well, Mexico not. In fact, it's Indonesia as well getting past India. So this battle all the way through the field. Again at the front, we've got a 1.7 second advantage. Switzerland over Ireland. Team GBR are half a second behind Ireland. Those 3 are pulling away from France in 4th, Italy in 5th, and the Czech Republic in 6th.
This is what it's all about. 24 nations racing in identical cars in A1 Grand Prix, but one of them is out, and it's Brazil. And every previous race he's had problems in the feature race. This time it's the sprint race that has gone wrong for Brazil. What a shame for him. The Netherlands, meanwhile, up to 11th place. But because Brazil have dropped out, those guys behind have all moved up one. It's still Switzerland that leads. 2nd place for Ireland, but look at Great Britain. Great Britain is catching Ireland, and behind them, there's the danger man. It's France.
Well, I think France is just winning. They're not composing themselves. They got shuffled back. Nevertheless, Nicolas Lapierre has been a quality driver all the way through the series when he's been in the car. Fastest lap right now, of course, goes to Team GBR. We saw just how racy Robbie Kerr could be to find a position. He got that position with Brazil. He's now hunting down Team Ireland. Look again as we come up the straight into turn 10. You can see cars all the way out on the right-hand side of track.
Look at Verstappen of the Netherlands trying to go around the outside of Malaysia. Oh, he doesn't quite manage it. Malaysia is able to take the line. Alex Young driving well there, and Verstappen frustrated. 10th and 11th, right behind them is Team USA. And let's take another look at the start.
But watch Ireland directly behind Switzerland. They go from right over to the left side of the track. France is the team that really got shuffled back. Again, Team GBR comes down, tries to get down the inside, can't get it done. Brazil runs very, very wide, made a good recovery, but there was the contact between Germany and Malaysia, and I think there was other contact as they went through turn 2.
Yeah, there was. He got sandwiched there. The Czech Republic was on the inside, and they simply ran out of room. It was just unfortunate. Now, look at this. This is the new system, the car recovery system being tested, and it's being used for the first time under race conditions as they get that Brazilian car out of the way. It was a retirement through what looked like a mechanical problem, and in that situation they can bring the helicopter in to remove it as quickly as possible.
Big question is, will they remove the car and put it down safely behind the barriers, or are they going to take it across the racetrack as they appear to do and try and put the car into the pit and let the team get to work on it immediately?
It keeps the racing going, and look at Team Ireland, 2nd place, but they're coming under increasing pressure from Great Britain.
Back of Ireland, then it'll be a different deal. He may not find it quite so easy to make a manoeuvre as he did in Team GBR to take that position. That would be P2.
On board with Jos Verstappen as we run into the first corner there, turn 1, downhill into that bend, and then through 2 and 3, these fast S's, and then going into the long sweeping right-hander at turn 4, and he's trying to keep the pressure on Alex Young. Down through 5 and 6, and then it all begins to tighten up a bit down here. Easy to overdrive this section of the track. Alex Young put in a very good final qualifying run yesterday, and he's holding on at the moment to 10th position from the Netherlands. Interestingly, on that last lap, Team Switzerland, I think, were probably the fastest with a 1:47.5, but France still beginning to close up on Ireland, as you can see.
But crucially, Ireland have also picked up the pace, although France still are quicker. There you can see on screen the battle for second and third place. France have run down Team GBR for third place 2 laps ago. Now it's Ireland that's in their sights. In the meantime, it's allowing Switzerland to gallop away. They've got just under a 3-second advantage over Ireland. It'll be a more difficult task for France to get past Ireland as India comes back on track, having gone off.
Yep, they were running down in 20th place, and looks as though they've lost at least one position as a result of that. But Team France here, we're riding on board with Nicolas Lapierre, and he's just in behind Ralph Furman in the Irish car now. Switzerland is being allowed to run away a little bit with this. Watch the power boost. France still have 2 remaining. Ireland has 3 remaining. Watch for the dot to go red. That will indicate that they're using the power boost. In fact, at the moment, everybody stays clear of it.
But clearly Ireland not quite as quick in that final turn, turn 16. France had a better drive off. They closed down marginally coming into turn 1. France car right now is the quicker of these 2 cars, but Ireland has got the position, and Ralph Furman, a much more experienced driver in this kind of racing than Nicolas Lapierre, but Lapierre doing a good job.
So this was India and China a moment ago. They were dicing away for 20th place, and that's when India went off.
Well, a fairly simple error on the part of young Ibrahim. He just had taken the place. Maybe he got a bit of... That's that Team GBR.
Great Britain in trouble. That's down at turn 7. I don't know what's happened there, but he lost a huge amount of time. He's emerged just ahead of Malaysia. He's now in 9th place.
Well, he was running comfortably in 4th place. He wasn't under any particular pressure from Italy. They were some half a second or more behind. Suddenly Robbie Kerr off track. Looks like driver error. And, of course, the penalty will be 3 positions lost.
Oh, dear, and that makes life even more difficult come the feature race. He won't be happy at all, and he's got 2 quick drivers behind him, Alex Young and Jos Verstappen.
In fact, he's dropped back to 9th place.
Yep, that's right. So 9th position for him. Phil Giebler of the USA behind him, and we're looking at the rest of them coming through. There's China who qualified well in 16th, but losing out, so they've dropped down to 20th. Replay here of what happened to Great Britain.
And he lost at the back of the car in turn 7, just coming into turn 7. So big, just a fundamental error, maybe just pushing too hard, maybe slightly offline. That's the penalty. You've got to stay on line. Only in a straight line, under braking into turn 1 or possibly into turn 10 can you take the risk and go offline.
All this means that as we ride with France in 3rd place, Italy are up to 4th. Italy, who started 11th, have actually made more ground than anybody else in terms of positions. The Italian car now 4th behind the French car that we're riding with. Any use of the power boost? No, doesn't look like it, not on this section of track.
And the consequence for France is that they're now running at the same lap speed. Ireland and power boost will on Malaysia, but Ireland have now managed to quell, if you like, the attack that France was. When France was 3 seconds behind, they could close down Ireland. But once they get to this distance, then the momentum is lost for France. It'll either mean a mistake from Ireland that will allow Lapierre and France to sweep through, or a very, very brave manoeuvre.
That last lap was another outstanding lap for race leader Neil Yarny. He was half a second faster than both Ireland and France. Neil Yarny could break the stranglehold that France have had on A1 Grand Prix in recent events. Look at the advantage he's got with 9 laps to go. And Ireland, looking in the mirrors, Ralph Furman knows that Nicolas Lapierre is very close indeed.
But he's not close enough at this part of the track. You can see the distance. He's showing his nose. What he's trying to do is just cause Ralph Furman to look in his mirrors. Once you get a driver distracted, once you make him look in the mirrors rather than looking forward, then you have a good chance of making an overtaking manoeuvre, because he will have lost confidence. And the lock-up there,
that was from the race leader, Team Switzerland. There was smoke. Whether it was a lock-up, I think it probably was, but a little bit of a worrying moment. It looks clean enough as they exit the next section of track. So Yarny still pushing very hard. He might be leading this race, but he's still pushing hard. His gap is 3.3 seconds. Of course, if a safety car were to come out, then that gap would be reduced immediately. But on board with Team France, still keeping the pressure on Ireland.
There's just slightly different lines in that bank, turn 14 from Ireland and from France. That's just the driver preference there. We look down at the power boost button. France, again, in good position. Now, if they want to use their power boost button, they've got to be right under the gearbox of Team Ireland to be able to use it to get the run, get the benefit of an aerodynamic slipstream and dive down the inside. But the gap, once again, is too great for France to take the chance. So they'll save that power boost. Again, another lock-up from Switzerland going into turn 1. That looked like the unloaded right wheel under front.
He's still going for it. Another 1 minute 47.2 from Yanni. Blistering pace being set by Switzerland. Great Britain, Malaysia and the Netherlands all close together. Then USA and South Africa. Japan come through on their own. Then it's New Zealand, Australia, Pakistan having a look down the inside. That's for 16th place. Mexico behind them. Then Austria, China running 20th. India in 21st. And of course out of this race both Germany and Brazil.
Well, there's nobody braver in the car than Adam Khan. He had a look down the inside. He was too far behind to take the risk, but at least he's prepared to have a go. He's a racer.
Still this dice continues between Alex Young and Jos Verstappen. It's a great race between them. Both getting down into 1 minute 47s, but Great Britain has just managed to ease away from them a fraction.
Well, I think the Netherlands and Jos Verstappen is trying to line up Malaysia, and Alex Young again not quite far enough, but that's not enough to stop Jos Verstappen, but he's not going to have a go this time. But he closes down as South Africa and Team USA, they scrabble round the circuit.
Yeah, that's the position. South Africa's just snatched position, but then it lost it again as USA reclaims the spot. That is 12th place. What a dice between these two. And Phil Giebler's having a wonderful debut in A1 Grand Prix.
And we've seen how excited and aggressive that Simon Simpson could be. Stephen Simpson, when he was making that manoeuvre on New Zealand some in the early laps.
Yeah, he's racing hard here today, there's no doubt about it. And Phil Giebler's going to have to watch out. He holds the middle ground as they head up into the banked corner, but he's gone wide, and that's Simpson's opportunity.
Well, that was a perfect bit of setting a driver up to get past. He used, by going out to the outside of the track, allowed Phil Giebler to stay in the middle, but of course compromises on the entry to the corner, and that was a switchback. Perfect example, a young racing driver using his brain made a very good, clean overtaking manoeuvre.
Well, USA have one power boost, but Stephen Simpson using his power boost as the flashing red button shows us on the bottom of the screen. He wants to stay ahead of USA. He's not going to risk losing the place again, and he's got to keep it clean into turn one to do so. He does that.
Dust, a lot of dust coming out of turns 2 and 3. Is that somebody off track that we didn't get to see as this battle continues?
Well, we'll wait to see if anyone's taken an off-track excursion. Everything looking okay at the moment. South Africa up into what is now 12th position. Ahead of them, they've got the Netherlands and Malaysia, still racing hard for the final point. For 10th position, 1 point paid out to that. Japan in the background, they're running in 14th position ahead of New Zealand and Australia. So New Zealand, Australia, both out of the points. And Great Britain, who are currently running in 9th, well, they would get 2 points. They're not quite enough points for them to regain that 4th place from New Zealand, which they managed to snatch at 1 point in Malaysia, only to drop back again after the feature race. Into turn number 10 at the end of that interior straight. Pakistan again having a little look at getting past Australia. Australia really sliding into the corner.
And of course in process opening up the door to Mexico and Indonesia. I don't know what's happened. Will Davison's just suddenly either gave up the ghost or he's got a mechanical problem.
Yeah, something went wrong there for Australia, and they're out of the battle now. Austria looking to get past Mexico here as the sprint race continues. 7 laps to go, and Mexico on the inside there. Austria on the outside as they come into the second gear. Banked left-hander running around the outside. Matthias Lauda trying to see if he can get the car ahead enough, turning into the right-hander. Can he do it? Oh, yes, he can. And Salvador Duran of Mexico was quite cautious there. He wants to finish this race.
Well, I tell you, we've seen Matthias Lauda. He's a lot more confident in this race. He's actually racing. He's not thinking about very much other than actually the motor race itself. And he's probably putting a lot more energy into the car, and as a consequence getting a lot more out of his car.
Australia came into the pits, whatever their problem was. Could be race over for Australia, as Austria now busy holding on to the position, but Mexico having a look at getting down the inside.
But good job from Lauda. He saw what was going on with Mexico. He allowed the car to have a bit of extra racetrack in the event that if he tried to take the apex, there could have been collision between Mexico and Austria. And another battle right down at the tail of the field this time. 17th and 18th position, fighting as hard as anybody. Ireland and France in 2nd and 3rd particularly.
It's good to watch. Let's just remind you that Switzerland are leading by 3.5 seconds. They're in great shape to take victory here, but further down the order we're watching Salvador Duran of Mexico as he tries to reclaim the spot from Austria. Matthias Lauda, who just managed to nip past him into the pits, has come Australia. I would imagine it's some sort of gear change problem, maybe an electronic problem that's affected the gear shift. It is an electronic paddle system. I know one driver had a problem with the gear change button yesterday. Maybe it's something like that for Australia.
Well, certainly it was a very abrupt problem because Will Davison suddenly just get out of that pack of 4 cars of battling for position. As we go back here with Austria headed on board with Mexico, This is a battle for 17th position, would you believe?
Well, there's battles everywhere you look, really, aren't there? But we do have 2 cars confirmed out of this race. They're Germany and Brazil, and Australia. We're waiting to see whether they come back out. Could be an opportunity for Malaysia to gain a position here. There's the Netherlands pit, Jan Lammers on the right-hand side. Well, he's got plenty of driving experience himself. And Graham Taylor keeping an eye on things too. They've seen their man, Jos Verstappen, gain a lot of places in the early stages. Now it's proving more difficult.
Yes, and Team GBR, we've seen that throughout the 3 days of running. That little lock-up as you come into the corner where the unloaded inside wheel just grabs and leaves a trail of smoke. Robbie Kerr consolidating after that error in 9th place, but under pressure.
Yeah,
Alex Young looks to dive down the inside, but the door very firmly slammed in front of the Malaysia's car.
Yeah, that was an optimistic move, really. He didn't actually try it in the end, but maybe just wasting time. He actually has dropped back as a result of that. He has to be careful because he'll be immediately back into the clutches of Jos Verstappen, and Verstappen won't think twice if he senses a chance to nip through on the inside. Look how close he is here.
Well, he's gained a little bit of momentum because of Alex Young's keenness to get past GBR. He forgot how close Jos Verstappen is. I mean, that literally, there's inches between the 2 cars on that very wide-angle camera shot.
Yeah, very, very close indeed. Almost touching wheels as they came through turn 8 there. And now as they head up out of 9 along the straight. And
Young knows that Malaysia is under pressure. He goes to the centre of the racetrack, blocks effectively what Netherlands had anticipated to do. And once again, the status quo remains.
Yeah, Young knows what to do. He's positioning the car cleverly, and he's just not allowing Verstappen the opportunity. But one little slip up, and Verstappen will be through. A little bit of a wobble there, perhaps, from Malaysia, turning into the corner.
And all this, of course, is allowing Team GBR to get that little bit of a comfort zone between 9th and 10th place once again. That's the danger of going on the attack. You leave yourself vulnerable from attack from behind.
Yeah, and into the hairpin. This is where we saw South Africa gain a place on USA a little while ago, but not quite as deep, not quite as wide for Malaysia on that occasion. There are 3 laps to go. The race leader is Switzerland, and we could be on for a brand new winner in A1 Grand Prix. His advantage is a full 3.6 seconds over Ireland, with France in 3rd, Italy in 4th, the Czech Republic in 5th, then Canada in 6th, Indonesia there 7th, Portugal 8th, Great Britain 9th, 10th place for Malaysia, and 11th and just outside the points for the Netherlands.
Well, one of the big differences we've seen here in Dubai is that the tyre drop-off that we've seen, say, in Malaysia or other racetracks is virtually negligible, so nobody is suffering from a drop-off on tyre. The lap times, of course, fastest lap, Switzerland 1 minute 47.239, so everybody ought to be in position when we get into the closing laps. We're now 3 laps to go to attack.
Yeah, they're still lapping in the 1 minute 47s. There's been very little drop-off, as you say. Very consistent pace. You're on board with Nicolas Lapierre of France. He still has 1 power boost available to him. Ireland still has 2, though. So it will help them defend. A little bit wide there from Ireland, though, as we look back at Malaysia versus the Netherlands. Here's Jos Verstappen's chance. They're both on the dirty part of track. They might both slide a bit more than expected into this corner, but Young controls it well. He knows that he had less grip, so he braked a fraction early.
Yes, and he's also very, very canny at placing his car on the very part of racetrack that you want to use. It's all completely fair. There's nothing that is aggressive, no switches across the track violently. He's just using his brains, and he's keeping Jos Verstappen, who increasingly is going to be frustrated. You can almost see the steam coming out of his helmet.
You can almost, but what Jos has to remember is he's already moved up a lot of places with regard to the feature race. If he can be 11th on the grid, it's a lot better than he was for the sprint race, and the pit stops might help him move even further up and really score some points. So it's probably not worth the gamble of taking a big, big risk to get past Alex Young in these closing laps. So the race continues there for 10th place. Behind them it's still South Africa, then USA 13th, Japan 14th, New Zealand, Pakistan, Austria, then Mexico, China and India, with 3 cars further down. Australia, of course, a lap down. They did go back out. And then Germany and Brazil taking no further part in proceedings, and Lebanon not even getting into the start of this race. They crashed on their out lap.
Well, back to the lead. Here we see Team Switzerland, a 3.6 advantage over Ireland. France appear to be just dropping away at some 2 seconds now. The distance between Ireland and France, at one point it was just under half a second. And I think, in fact, on that last lap, France either made an error because they dropped from a 147, middle 147, all the way down to a 49.1. That might have been an attempt to make an overtaking manoeuvre that didn't come off. You can see the gap. Now Ralph Fairman can breathe a little more easily with just 1.5 laps remaining.
France are in third place. They are not winning this race. They're not second, they're third. And we haven't seen that for a long time. We're going to be on for a new winner in A1 Grand Prix. And
France have spun!
Oh my goodness! They've lost even more time now, and France really in trouble.
And they will not be on the podium. For whatever the problem that Nicolas Lapierre had on the last lap when he lost that time, suddenly it's much worse. He's spun and he's now trapped just ahead of Portugal in seventh place.
He's in 7th now, that's right. What a disaster for France. Well, suddenly when things go wrong, they really start to go wrong. And poor Nicolas Lapierre, trying to uphold French honour, maintain that winning streak. It's gone wrong for him here.
You can almost hear the pit lane. Let's look on board. What happened. He just comes out of that turn 14. Around she goes, off onto the dirty part of the racetrack, onto the hard standing, which is now the runoff area. Keeps it running, but has gone from 3rd place all the way down to 8th place.
Well, he managed to get back on. There was a clap there from the Irish team. Relief for the Irish team, because the French team off Jean-Paul Driot of Team France doesn't look overly concerned. They've still got a healthy points advantage, but what a turnaround. Ireland on for their best result, certainly in A1 Grand Prix, with a 2nd place finish. If they can just hold it all together. They were 3rd, of course. They've had one 3rd place finish this year. That was at Estoril. But more importantly, perhaps, for Team Switzerland, they are looking at their first win, and it's 2 of the smallest countries in A1 Grand Prix in terms of land size, land area, that are going to come through on top of this race.
Ralph Fairman is in not a comfortable 2nd place. He's being caught by Team Italy. They've been closing down. The gap as they went across the line, the last lap was 3 seconds. Well, it's about halved as they come down main straight into turn 10.
You're right, and it looked to me as though he might have had a gear change problem coming out of that last corner. So can he fend off Italy here? Let's see, the Czech Republic's in there as well, as Ralph Fairman tries to defend on this final lap. We saw a change on the final lap for the lead in the last sprint race in Malaysia. I don't think it's going to be a change for the lead, but there could be a hard race going on here for 2nd place. Ralph Fairman fending off Italy and the Czech Republic.
Well, 3 cars battling for 2nd place as they come up to the last half of the last lap.
Here we go, Italy having a look down the inside. He's definitely in trouble, Fairman. He couldn't do anything to defend, and Italy move into 2nd place.
Watch the Czech Republic go through as well.
The Czech Republic into 3rd, and poor old Team Ireland, what has gone wrong with that car? They're dropping down the order, but here, coming through to take victory, to become the 3rd nation to win in A1 Grand Prix, it's Switzerland. Neil Yarni takes victory. 2nd place is going to go to Team Italy. Italy, with their best result, takes 2nd. The Czech Republic back up the podium they had last time out in Malaysia with 3rd. 4th place goes to Ireland. 5th goes to Canada. Indonesia finish in 6th. France have to settle for 7th. Portugal 8th, Great Britain 9th, and Malaysia held on to 10th. And that final point, with behind them the Netherlands, South Africa, USA, Japan, New Zealand 15th, Pakistan 16th, then Austria, Mexico, China and India. John, what a dramatic race.
Absolutely unbelievable, particularly the last lap, but also the penultimate lap when we saw France spin off as well. Clearly France were in trouble because when they were running behind Ireland, clearly quicker than Ireland, but couldn't get the job done. Then something happened, he lost 1.5 seconds on one lap, and the following lap he spun off. Then Ireland itself on the final lap, halfway round, lost 2nd place, lost 3rd place, ends up in 4th.
Neil Yarni is a race winner in A1 Grand Prix. He's been waiting for this moment. He's been on the pace throughout the series, and finally he takes his first win. And for Switzerland, they will be so proud with Neil Yarni's efforts here today. And for Italy, remember, Italy started 11th on the grid. There are no pit stops in a sprint race, and yet Italy managed to move all the way up into 2nd. Yes, they had a little bit of luck at the end there with mistakes for France and a mechanical problem for Ireland, but nonetheless, well done to Italy, to Enrico Toccacello, and also to Thomas Enger, who moved up from 7th on the grid to finish 3rd.
Well, I think there were a few sceptics in the pit lane this morning after the warm-up when Toccacello for Team Italy were quickest at a stunning time, and they thought no fuel, no fuel, no fuel. Well, that pace has been reflected here this afternoon, and Toccacello and Team Italy have elevated themselves right up onto the front row of the grid for the feature race and onto the podium.
Yeah, a brilliant effort from Team Italy, and Team France for the first time really getting into a little bit of trouble, and I wonder if they're going to be able to fight back. They're going to be only 7th on the grid for the feature race. and that's going to keep the pressure on. And of course Switzerland second in the points coming into this race. Now the point system means that there are only tiny differences, only 1 point difference between each position. 10 points going to the winner, 9 points to second, and so on down the list. But Neil Yarni has taken those 10 points for Switzerland and closed that gap a little bit on France. The championship's certainly not over yet, there's a long way to go, and Yarni's attacking.
And I think when Neil Yarni looks across and sees Team Italy to his left and then the Czech Republic, he's going to say, where did they come from? I had Ireland behind me pretty much all the race, and suddenly Italy and Czech Republic second and third. Ireland in fourth place, great disappointment because they did a good job. They defended that second place against France. France then had their own problems, all finishing all the way down in seventh place. And the Czech Republic, Enrico Toccacello, there you see the Italian team run by Pierpaolo Ghinzani, a former race driver, runs teams throughout other formulas in Europe, and Toccacello delighted, as is Neil Yarni and Team Switzerland.
Yeah, that really is a great result.
It's a little bit less emotional than welcome for Neil, isn't it? It's typically Swiss, whereas the Italians, it's all, hey, hey, hey. The Swiss are saying, well, get the cowbells out, let's ring the cowbells.
Well, it's still a great result. I suppose they felt that they came so close to it last time out in Malaysia, but he didn't have the race pace in Malaysia. That's the difference. He had massive race pace here in Dubai. He was simply the fastest man out there. Once he got in front, he pulled away, set the fastest lap, controlled the gap, and he did it to perfection. He ended up winning by 8.2 seconds as a result of the problems for those behind him. And let's just take a look at that result. Confirm the fact that Switzerland have won here in Dubai. They've broken the sequence of Team France. Italy claiming second place. The Czech Republic third. Team Ireland dropping to fourth with some sort of problem at the end there. North America represented by Canada in fifth place. Indonesia, great sixth place actually for Indonesia. That's one of their best finishes of the season. Behind them, France in seventh, then Portugal, Robbie Kerr of Great Britain in ninth place, and Alex Young of Malaysia. He held on to 10th after a great battle with the Netherlands. Jos Verstappen, who was 11th. Simpson in 12th, ahead of USA, 13th, Japan 14th, New Zealand down in 15th, then Pakistan, Austria, Mexico, China finished in 19th place, and then it was India in 20th. Australia had a problem, they dropped a whole lap. They finished 21st, and then of course Germany, Brazil didn't finish the race, and Lebanon never got out there at all. And let's just hope that the team has managed to get the car repaired and that he will feature, come out in the feature race a little bit later on this afternoon. There is Max Welti on the right-hand side of the picture as we look at it. He is team boss of Team Switzerland. Huge amount of experience in motorsport, and this will be a great moment for him, John.
Yes, it is, and I think for Neil Yarni, he's been threatening. He got very, very close indeed. Other than that disappointing pit stop in Malaysia. An early start for them in Brands Hatch, didn't have much time to prepare, but as the season has progressed, we're now in the 6th of 12 rounds, and Neil Yarni and Team Switzerland really showing the potential. Neil Yarni, and there probably some of the Swiss, maybe, I don't know, that's part of the Swiss community, or the kids certainly enjoying themselves out on that amphitheatre just up overlooking turn 16.
Yeah, it makes a good spot to watch a race, doesn't it, and have some fun in between.
I think they're just kids, they're not Swiss kids, they're just kids.
Absolutely, having a good time here this afternoon. Of course, it is a weekday here in Dubai, effectively. The Sunday is a working day, and I think they've been given a little school trip, which is a bit of fun.
And quite rightly too. I hope they enjoy the day. They come and see some really, really exciting motor racing, and that was a cracking sprint race here in Dubai.
It was, and it whets the appetite for the feature race later on this afternoon. It'll be double length, and it will feature the pit stops as well. But for the moment, let's just enjoy the fact that Switzerland have taken their first win. He did celebrate his birthday just the other day on Thursday. He turned 22 years of age, and there is no better way, surely, of celebrating that than taking victory here. He's got a good future ahead of him as well. As one of the Red Bull back-to drivers, he's got tremendous opportunities. He's already been named as third driver for the effectively the Red Bull Junior team in Formula One next year. And by taking victory here in A1 Grand Prix, that really does set the scene, not only for this year. What a great way to finish this year and look ahead to 2006.
Well, the best way you can finish the season is on a high, and we've seen France pretty much on that high all the way through until we get to Dubai. In fact, for France, things started to begin going wrong. In qualifying, they had a problem. Once they went out, they only got out in the second segment. That was their first run, and they had a brake problem in that segment, and it never quite recovered. Although they got onto the front row of the grid, the charge into turn one saw them being overtaken principally by Ireland, and then they were really on the back foot. Team GBR also raced. As we look at the Saltire, the flag of Scotland, and the kids there enjoying their day out. So France, it just started to go wrong in qualifying. But believe me, come the feature race, even though they're going to start all the way down in 7th place, it is the strength that they have, in particular with those flawless pit stops to change wheels and tyres.
We're looking at the highlights now of that sprint race and the build-up to the first race. And a lot of it, of course, at the start. There was a real sandwich job going on between Malaysia, Germany and Czech Republic. And there was the contact in the middle, and poor old Germany lost out as a result. And they'll be starting towards the back of the feature race. Then we saw problems for Brazil. That looked like a mechanical problem, and the team couldn't quite believe it. His car was hoisted quickly out of the way, and Piquet had to watch the rest of the race from the pit wall. Well, as the pit boards came out, it was clear that Switzerland were in good shape, and one of the races of the race was indeed between Malaysia and the Netherlands. Then France made this mistake.
Yes, a key mistake. You can see Team France in the pit wall. They're just going, oh, tout à l'heure, what has happened? Because Nicolas Lapierre, the coolest man here in A1GP, he's human after all, he made an error. But Team Italy delighted with second place, and of course Switzerland taking their first victory, having promised so much in Malaysia. What joy for Italy, Switzerland, and of course the Czech Republic.
Yeah, a really good day for all three nations. Interestingly enough, Malaysia, by fending off the Netherlands, have managed to move one position ahead of them in the championship as well, because they were tied on 32 points. So it was quite a significant fending off job there that Alex Young did. They've now gone 1 point ahead. Switzerland have now closed to within 21 points, still a big gap of course, but with their victory and only 4 points going to France, then at least it has narrowed the gap slightly. Brazil failed to score, so it has certainly meant that Switzerland are in a very clear second place in the table before we go into the feature race. And New Zealand didn't score, whereas Great Britain scored 2, so the gap between New Zealand and Great Britain for 4th place now down to just 2 points. And with New Zealand starting 15th on the grid for the feature race, Great Britain starting 9th, they do have every opportunity of snatching 4th in the table. So that's something we'll be watching for in the feature race later on this afternoon. Indonesia finishing in 6th place. That is, in fact, confirmation of that. That's their best result of the season so far. Canada with an excellent 5th too. Not their ultimate best of the year, but still very, very strong, and definitely a good position to be in for the feature race.
Yeah, I think that was a very good race. Sean McIntosh and Ananda Mikkola for Indonesia, both doing well as we look there at 1st and 3rd. And well, in fact, Toccocello there in the picture as well as they wait to get their podium ceremony and award. And well, Neil Yarni delighted. And I mean, Thomas Engen, one of those guys who's always got a smile on his face. Neil Yarni's very much more typically Swiss. You never see very much expression. That's probably the most expression you're going to see from him all weekend. Less emotional. Czech Republic delighted. They were delighted with their podium in Malaysia, second one in the row. And for Toccocello, well, there's Team Italy. They're down there, thoroughly delighted. It's been a slow start for a nation that we thought was going to be very much a competitive one throughout the first half of the season. But Toccocello's pace clearly is there, and they're now getting their whole team car act together.
Yeah, he has got a lot of experience of top-level single-seater racing. Never quite made it all the way up to Formula One, but a great deal of experience at very high level of international racing, as of course is this man, Thomas Engen, who has done a little bit of Formula One. He raced in 3 Grand Prix, but here he is representing the Czech nation. He's got the flag with him, and he's taken his second podium in 2 races. And both these guys had great races last time out in Malaysia. On that occasion, Toccocello of Italy was 4th. This time, he's managed to get himself onto the podium, but there is the man who's taken victory for the first time and has beaten France to it. He's taken the top spot. Switzerland taking their first victory, and the 3rd country has taken a win in A1 Grand Prix. The Swiss national anthem, not the French anthem, playing out this time to Dubai, as we see the winners from the sprint race here, and a big smile for Neil Yarni and the Swiss flag displayed proudly. And with Italy up onto the podium there as well, they have become the 12th different country to appear on the podium as we've reached the halfway stage of A1 Grand Prix. So that is basically half the field have appeared at least once on the podium so far. And as Thomas Enger receives his trophy, his award, his medal as well, the Czech team really is on the up at the moment, with a third place finish last time and now this one as well. He'll be starting third, of course, in the grid for the feature race, and this will give them a huge opportunity to move up in the points standings. Excellent chance for them. Switzerland already managing to close up that gap a little bit, but the Czech Republic now moving on to 24 points, and that will put them just 2 points behind Canada, close to Australia as well, just outside the top 10 in terms of position, but nonetheless very good effort. And Italy, they'll have jumped up a bit as well. They've gone past the USA, Mexico as well, just in that one result. So they've jumped several places in the championship table. And Switzerland, the 10 points to Switzerland, there may be an extra point for them. It depends on fastest lap in the feature race. Whoever gets the fastest lap between either race ends up with an extra championship point, but we'll have to wait and see what the fastest lap is in the feature race to see whether Neil Yarni can claim that. But for the moment, he's just going to celebrate this victory. He felt it should have come to him last time out in Malaysia, where he started on pole position. This time it has gone his way, and he'll be looking to see whether he can do what every other nation that has won the first race has gone on to do in A1 Grand Prix, and that is to win the feature race as well. Can he make it 2 out of 2? Well, Brazil have done it, France have done it, and now we're going to find out whether Switzerland can do it.
Well, they're certainly going to be in a good position to do it. They'll be on the left-hand side of the track for the start of the feature race, rather than being on the inside as they were for the sprint. But for the first time, we'll have Italy alongside the pole position setter. And, you know, the pace that Italy have shown here in the sprint race, but principally this morning in that warm-up, makes them serious challengers to Switzerland. The trouble is that Switzerland has been able to run clear, free, no traffic. Italy's been running in traffic, so we don't know the ultimate true pace that Italy will have if they can get into a situation in a battle with Switzerland. Is Italy today the team that's got ultimate speed, or will it go back to the hands of Switzerland, who dominated this first sprint race here this afternoon, and follow the pattern that we've seen so much through the previous 5 rounds, that he who wins the sprint race has a good chance to win the feature?
Yeah, it's the best place to be, there's no doubt about it. And France are going to have to work some, aren't they, from 7th place on the grid. They showed good speed in that race. They were capable of lapping virtually as quickly as Switzerland, but couldn't find a way past Team Ireland. At early part of the race, they looked to have a slightly quicker car. It might have changed later on.
Well, they did have the quicker car. The difficulty is that when you get close to the car ahead of you, then you lose that momentum, you lose the opportunity to pass. Sometimes it's better to drop back slightly and then take another run. But Ralph Fairman, the experience, the maturity that he has, he knows all those tricks. He'll be looking at his mirrors and knowing when the run's going to come.
Well, we'll see what happens. We're just waiting for the drivers to make their way over to the press conference room now, and the crowd here has been certainly treated to some good fun racing, not only up for the race lead or for second and third. It was changing all the way to the end there. We will find out after we've gone to the press conference just what happened to 1 or 2 of those other drivers, particularly Ireland. What happened to them on that final lap? We'll find out after the press conference, but it's time to join the top 3 now. Let's hear from them.
Neil Yarni, Team Switzerland, congratulations, your first victory. You said it would be the perfect birthday present for yourself. How do you feel?
For sure, very good. At last, our first victory, but the big race will come, and so it's not over yet.
What about the car? Are you happy with the way that was performing? You were out at the front from the beginning.
No, it was very good at the beginning. Towards the end, I got a little bit of problems with the car, but never though I had enough big gap to the second position, so it was quite a comfortable race for me.
Enrico Toccacello, Team Italy. Your first ever podium, congratulations. Could you believe what you were seeing when you saw cars dropping out past you so you could get on a podium?
Yeah, you know, I've been a little bit lucky because for our firm I had the problem, I think, with the engine, and 1 car spawned in front of me. But anyway, I was confident also yesterday in free practice. We were always faster. Unfortunately, we had a problem in qualifying, but my team made a really good job, and the car was really good today. I'm happy. I'm really happy to finish second position.
You made a great start. You went from 11th to 6th on the first corner.
Yeah, I did a really good start, and you know, there was big casino, big trouble in the first corner. But anyway, this time I was lucky and be lucky, and it was all okay, and finished second. So it's a good result for us.
Czech Republic, Thomas Enger, it was a great finish to watch. And what about you? What were you thinking when you saw cars dropping out round about you?
Well, it was a little bit unbelievable. But obviously that's the way it goes. You know, you have to have your car perfectly prepared, perfectly set up, perfectly prepared, and you have to drive a clean race without any problems. So that's what we've done today. I have to thank to my team because I didn't have any problem. The only problem today in this race was this first corner when I had a little touch with I think with the German car, and then the steering wheel was a little bit on the side, but still the car was fast enough to keep up with Enrico and try to push him. And we are happy with third place, especially it's a great position for start of for the main race.
2 podiums in 2 rounds. Are the Czech Republic starting to make progress?
Well, we hope so. I mean, we were a bit unlucky in the first few races. We missed a lot of testing, or all the testing, before the start of the season, and now we are getting there, and I hope we can keep up and continue in the position we are.
Just finally, Neil, we all know the pattern. Every driver who's won the first race goes on to win the second. Does that create any extra pressure for you?
Well, not really. In the end, you just try to do your best, and you see what the outcome is, and that's what we will do for the next race.
Gentlemen, thanks very much.
So off they go to and discuss with their engineers any way of improving.